Welcome to ISE's FX Options Weekly Outlook, a weekly outlook on the US dollar versus the major currencies, hosted by Jason Ayres, a top industry instructor and founder of OptionSource.net. Learn to trade your views on the strength or weakness of the US dollar.
Hi there and welcome to the FX Options Weekly Outlook for the week starting July 27th. I'm your host Jason Ayres, founder and president of OptionSource.net. We're going to start off with a look at our weekly U.S. dollar index. This gives us a great perspective as to how the U.S. dollar has been trading against a basket of currencies. Last week we identified a bounce off of a support level at 72. At this point, the path of least resistance seems to be up towards a test of the 74 level. If we look at our RSI, it appears to be gaining some momentum to the upside, and our MACD is suggesting a little bit of a trend that's still in place to the upside. Keep in mind that 72 represents a significant support, and should we see it drop below that, the next logical area to test would be down in towards this 71 level. Take a look at our first pair value, which is the CDD, the US versus the Canadian dollar. Last week we saw a bounce off of a support here at the 100 level. We saw it test the 100.5 and suggested that if it did break through, we would likely see some resistance up here at the 102. With that in mind, should we see a consolidation and a rejection off of that 102, we're likely to see a retest down into the 101 to the 101.5 level. If we look at our MACD and our RSI, we can see that we're starting to gain some momentum. So the US dollar is gaining a bit of strength against the Canadian dollar. So a retest of that 101 to the 105 and a bounce off of that and a break through the 102 is likely to see us retest this very significant resistance level at the 103. Let's have a look at our YUK, our US dollar versus the Japanese yen. Last week we saw a huge push off of the 104.5 focal point, and the suggestion was that it was likely to push up towards that 107.5, which would be a significant resistance level. We can see a little bit of a consolidation taking place here. If we do see a rejection off of that, our most likely retracement is down to the 106.5. We look at our MACD, you can see that our MACD is starting to suggest a trend to the upside, and we're definitely gaining some momentum or some strength to the upside as well. A break above that 107.5 is likely to play into this 108.5 level there. That's actually really significant for resistance that's been in place for quite some time. So we'll see what happens as we break through these levels. Okay, so our EUI, our US versus the Euro, saw a nice little bounce off of the 62.50 focal area there to play into the 63.25 level. We suggested that if we saw a break of that particular focal area, that we would likely see a test of this previous resistance here at 64. We actually did see a rejection off of that back down into the 63.25, so this particular area is one of interest. If we're not able to hold there, we're likely to see a retest back down into the 62.50, which represents a very significant all-time high on the euro against the US dollar, so we need to keep that in mind. Our MACD is suggesting, though, that we should be cognizant of a possibility for a continuation to the upside. Our RSI has broken above that 50% level, suggesting some momentum to the upside, although it has curled back down and is sort of lying just on that sort of line. However, a continuation off of this 63.25 is likely to see a break above that 64 and a push into the 64.5 range. All right, so finally, let's have a look at our BPX, our US versus the British pound. Last week, we saw a test of a resistance in at the 50 focal area here. We suggested that a break above and a continuation of the upside is likely to meet with some resistance at the 50.5. We did see a rejection off of that and a retest back down into this 50 level here. If that 50 level doesn't hold, the path of least resistance is likely down towards the 49.5 level here. One thing we need to keep in mind is that our MACD is suggesting that we are in a little bit of an uptrend, or at least the start of one. However, our RSI seems to be rejecting in here at the 50% level. If we do see a consolidation at that 50 level here and a bounce off of that, we're likely to see the BPX pair value play up in towards that 51, and we'd look for a little bit of a resistance there. So folks, that's been your FX Options Weekly Outlook for the week starting July 27th. As always, I'm your host, Jason Ayres. Thanks very much for joining me this week. We'll see you here next.
Thank you for participating in this week's session. Please join us again next week. For more information about Jason Ayres and to sign up for free FX Options trade alerts, just visit www.optionsource.net. To learn more about ISE FX options, including our weekly webinar series, visit us at www.ise.com/fx. ISE FX options can easily be traded through all options-enabled brokerage accounts. These exchange-listed securities are cash-settled in U.S. dollars and have a European-style exercise.